There's certain things that you say that will get your murder case.
We are here. It's Friday, August 21st. We are in day 5 of Nevada versus Keefe D. He is on trial for the murder of Tupac Shakur. So we are going to see, well, what witnesses they have today. We did a lot of Keefe D's own words yesterday, and some of the questions are, how can they use those against him? This all came up in pretrial interviews, and we are in different jurisdictions, but I do think that one of the things that opened the door legally for Keefe D's Proffer interviews to be used against him was his book. A lot of what's in his book lines up with what's in the Proffer interview that we heard yesterday. We know there's another one. We'll see if they play that today. But much of what's in the book lines up with that Proffer interview. And so on the inevitable discovery, it's like, well, it's already out there. He's already said it. So this is no longer a secret proffer. And again, we've got different jurisdictions. They were investigating a different crime. Some other things that are more technicalities that I don't think would override the sanctity of a proffer. But the book really makes it hard to argue that you can't use those statements when he's said it in other forms. So we'll see what witnesses we get today and how many more times they say the word Diddy.
I was stopped at a light, and a car rolled up, or really the wheels really caught my attention. And then I looked up and I saw it was Tupac and Suge sitting in the car.
He's a car guy. First thing he notices, the rims.
What, did you try to interact with Mr. Shakur or Mr. Knight?
With Tupac, I did.
Okay. And what happened? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I said, hey, what up, Pop? And then he kind of looked and kind of took like a double take. He said, oh, what up, man? And then I said, hey, where you guys headed? He said, we're headed to the club. You should follow us. I said, all right, cool. I said, man, let me get a picture real quick.
Oh.
And I had my camera in my center console, so I just grabbed my camera and snapped the picture.
Oh.
So this is before iPhone, so you actually had a physical camera with you.
Yeah, I had a 35
Had a flash and everything. He took the picture. He took the picture that we seen. We saw the picture in trial. We're going to see it again. We saw the picture in trial.
Do you recognize what's being shown to you?
Wow.
Yes, sir.
What is that?
That's the picture that I took.
Now, after
That's
taking
crazy.
this picture, so you took this picture at a red light,
Yes, sir.
and I'm assuming the light turns green at some
He
point.
was driving
Yes,
safe.
What do you do?
After I took the picture, the light changed green, and
Wow.
they took off, and I recognized like one or two of the cars that were behind them from seeing them from LA. So I let them go by, and then they got in front of me, and then I got 3 cars behind them, behind the BMW, and then we're just driving down Las Vegas Boulevard.
He joined the entourage.
At some point, do you make a right turn?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So we I guess the street is, I remember this, Flamingo. We get to Flamingo, and as we're making the right turn, I get on the phone. I was calling California Pizza Kitchen to cancel my food order.
Because you're heading to the club, right? You don't need a CPK.
So while
Yeah, I'm not gonna need that
I was
pizza.
on the phone with him like 30 seconds or so, and then all of a sudden I just hear pop, 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 and I kind of like,
What the
like
fuck?
looking around.
Yeah.
And then I see the cars were stopped, and I see the people in front that were in the cars. They got out of the car and ran to the front. They ran to the BMW.
So you hear gunshots,
Yes.
but you don't. Do you see where the gunshots are coming from?
I did not, no.
And do you see who's doing the shooting?
No, he's trying to cancel his order. This man's story is just, A, so interesting, but B, we've had so many just normal witnesses. I saw this. I did this. I heard this. I was doing this. Just so normal.
Now I made the U-turn. I catch up to, I'm behind the Lexus. It was a green Lexus. So I'm behind him, and then we see Suge make the wide left turn back onto the strip, and he went up on the curb and came back down, and then we all went through the intersection. It was traffic come through, and we just all made it through. And then we got to, I guess, Harmon. We got back to Harmon, and Suge makes another left turn, and now it's like cross traffic. He couldn't get through. And by this time, now we see the bicycle cops. There's a bicycle cop rolls up, and Suge is kind of like, stop here. This is Las Vegas. This is the street he turns on. So he's just stopped. And then the cop drops his bike, and I started to get out, and then I got back in once I saw the cops, whatever.
What do you see as you're inside your car? Do you look at the BMW at all?
I look at it, and then I see, like I said, the bicycle cop rolled up, and then he drops his bike, and then I see Suge getting out the car, and now the officer is yelling commands to him, get down, lay down, and you hear Suge saying, my man, pocket shot, we need help, pocket shot. And then the cops, I kind of blanked out, I didn't really hear what he said, and then the cop, for whatever, walked over there.
Right, because the cops have no idea what's going on.
Got up and they walked over to the passenger side of the car. At that time, when that occurred, a police officer rolled up in a vehicle. He ran up and pulled a gun on me and ordered me out of the car. He opened my door and then threw me down, snatched me out of the car and threw me down.
This poor man was like, I was trying to get some CPK. I gambled. I sold my tickets. The fight was like a minute long. Awesome decision. Was going to go get some pizza at California Pizza Kitchen. Saw Tupac, took a photo, got invited to the after party, was going to roll to the club, saw a shooting. Everybody left, went the same way because what the fuck do you do next? And then the cops are pulling him out of his fucking Suburban and throwing him to the ground. This man's got to be like, what the fuck?
On the ground. Now I'm like prone down on the ground. I'm in the direction I'm facing. I can see what's going on with the BM, with the police and shit.
Did the officer give you an explanation as to why he was treating you in such a manner?
Yeah, I said, hey, what's going on?
Hey, what the
he
fuck,
said, we have witnesses saying that you were part of their entourage.
Okay. And at that point,
I get that the cops don't know at this point if there was shooting between the two cars or just shooting at one of the cars. But man.
When you're prone and looking at what's going on at the BMW, what do you do?
I see that they were kind of like struggling with the door. They get the door out open, and then they pull Tupac out of the car.
And were you able to observe Mr. Shakur?
Not really. I saw the movement, but I didn't see what happened after he got out the car.
All right. So what happens after that?
The cop is, he sits me up now. He's asked me for my ID, where I'm from, what am I doing here, where am I staying, and he's writing down the information. The other is like, I don't know if it was his partner or just another cop was searching my Suburban, looking at whatever they do.
Since that time, obviously, that photo had become pretty famous. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yes, it has.
And as a result of it being associated with this case and the night of this particular murder, has there been some accusations of a conspiracy theory?
Oh, shit. Really?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, the internet does what it does. People, it was set up. It was a movie scene. Yeah.
That you had staged this scene?
Yeah, I staged it. I currently work in the movie industry as a picture card coordinator, so they put that all together.
Let me ask you this, or did you stage this scene?
I did not.
Nothing further.
Now, when you first arrived and you had seen Suge and Tupac, can you describe for us a little bit about, they're in the vehicle and you recognize the vehicle, right?
I didn't know the vehicle.
No.
Oh, did you see Suge and Tupac in the vehicle?
That's what I saw.
His attention was drawn by the rims, right?
And then I looked back and I saw Tupac and Suge.
Okay. And were people running up to the car?
No.
And so when you ran up, Tupac, was he hanging out of the window? Was he sitting in his
Good
chair?
He was sitting
question.
in his seat.
Okay. And when you have that conversation with him, of course, you're having a conversation, and it's not like, I mean, you're not hearing people screaming out Tupac's name or anything like that.
No,
that particular point.
no.
Defense counsel is asking this witness questions that undermine his client's own story. Yes, that's the point. Remember that slide in opening where defense counsel said, my client's known to bullshit. So he's going to use the statements with this witness that contradict his client to say, look, this witness never saw Tupac hanging out the window. This witness didn't hear anybody yelling, Tupac, Tupac. My client is embellishing the story. My client is the bullshitter.
Mr. Diaz, what do you do for a living?
I'm a filmmaker. I direct documentaries, and I'm also a showrunner for documentaries and documentary series.
Have you spoken to Keefe D about this case? Is that why you're here? Oh boy.
Before I came on, there were two consultants that were hired. Greg Kading, who's a former LVMPD detective, and Mike Dorsey, who is also a documentarian, who has been following this case for a while. The defendant was also on board, I was told.
As a consultant?
And so was Suge Knight. They had agreed to participate.
Within those episode 5 and episode 6, is Mr. Davis seen, or some of his interviews with you released to the public?
Yes.
In addition to the fact that Mr. Davis is on there, did you have access to the 2008 Proffer recording?
I did.
And so
From who?
when you produced,
So you had the 2008 Proffer recording from Kading? Because you know what law enforcement's not supposed to do? Take home evidence and then put it in a documentary.
I'm here, Cobalt, and Flamingo, and this was the spot to change my life forever. September the 7th.
He also puts this photo in his book. He says that's him the night of the fight and how they were dressed the night of the fight.
1996, the night of the Mike Tyson fight. Tupac jumped on my nephew.
He's saying, I'm in
Went
Vegas.
down.
This is where I was. This is where I was. The prosecution has to prove that he was in Vegas that night. And now we have statement after statement after statement of him saying, I'm in Vegas.
And I want to make sure I'm clear here. Was the interview done in a way where he promised to tell you the truth?
No. I mean, I would assume that he would tell me the truth.
Sure. But
mean,
once
it's not
again,
under
though, it's
oath.
not like you're sitting here right now where you swore to tell the truth. You're under oath.
Correct.
And with regard to the information you did receive from Mr. Davis, did you at any point verify any of it?
Yes, of course. I mean, that's partly why I had Mike Dorsey in another room.
Sure. So it would be Mike Dorsey and or Greg Kading confirming the information that you are getting from Mr. Davis.
Correct.
Now, in the event, though, that you believe that Mr. Davis was not giving you the information that was consistent with Mr. Kading or Mr. Dorsey's interpretation, what would have to happen at that particular point?
Well, I mean, I also conducted 30-plus interviews, so some of those other interviews in the show would corroborate what he said or not. I can't specifically say, oh, this little aspect of it was corroborated by Mark Jones. I'm just bringing him up as an example.
Sure.
There are many other people that I interviewed as well.
And once again, I want to make sure...
Including the two authors of the books that I cited earlier.
Right, and that would have been Kathy Scott?
Yeah.
And then also...
Ben Westhoff, I think his name is.
Okay. And what you're telling us is that
What he
their
said
books
lined up with what
corroborated
everybody else
what
said.
parts, what details of his representation.
It's too general a question to answer right now from memory.
Now, in once again, so your recollection is you used Kathy Scott's book and you used the other book
And the
as a way
interviews.
for you to determine whether or not Mr. Davis was accurate in what he said.
No, just the circumstances of the murder, like who the players were, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And fair to say,
again, I'm speaking very generally.
fine. But in terms of the books themselves, were they books in which only you can get a hold of, or were these books accessible by the public?
That's a great
You
question.
purchased these books.
Of course.
And
If this point doesn't come back around at closing, I'm going to be a bit sad. This is counsel building in the questions he wants for his argument. Anybody could buy these books, right? So my guy just read the books and could have come in here and said whatever. Interesting morning so far in day 5 of the Keefe D trial. We heard from a witness who happened to be in Vegas for the fight, ended up not going to the fight because he sold the tickets to somebody who was looking for tickets for like $2,500, went back to the Monte Carlo to go to the craps table, got hungry, decided to order some CPK, got into his white Suburban SUV, went to go pick up his California Pizza Kitchen, noticed Suge Knight's BMW because he noticed the rims, he noticed the tires. He was a car salesman and now actually works within the film industry, providing cars for sets, movies, commercials, television shows. But seems like always was a car guy, noticed the car, then noticed, oh, that's Tupac in that car. Okay. Had a 35 millimeter camera in the center console of his vehicle and said, essentially, can I get a picture? And took the picture of Tupac that we've seen in this trial of Tupac in the car with Suge Knight. And then they talked about where Tupac was going. And he said, hey, we're going to the club. Just follow us. So he got in line behind the other cars that were going with Tupac. And then the shooting happens. And then he follows Suge's car after Suge made a U-turn, followed his car, came to a stop when Suge's car came to a stop with the others, ended up getting pulled out of his car by law enforcement, got released from the scene with his car, went back to the Monte Carlo. His friend is still at the craps table, told his friend where he had been as he returns to the Monte Carlo with no pizza. And then law enforcement comes up to him at the craps table. He says, taps him on the shoulder and is like, hey, we need you to come back. We need to talk to you some more. His words were that law enforcement said to him, we fucked up. Can you come back? Can we bring your SUV back? So then they went back to the scene with his Suburban and had him back at the scene, introduced him to a different detective, asked him more questions. At that point, he told the detective that he had actually taken a photo of Tupac at the red light before he got behind them before the shooting happened. Law enforcement took that film from him. They developed the photos, and then he eventually did get back the negatives from that film and developed those photos, had the photo of Tupac, has since licensed it for use in other things, including a book cover. And then we got to a documentary and docuseries filmmaker who made the series Death Row Chronicles about Death Row Records, including interviews from Keefe D. And what we learned is that originally the unedited footage of Keefe D's interview was requested by Las Vegas PD, and it was not turned over. Later, the decision was made to turn over the raw, unedited video when Keefe D started saying that it's all Hollywood and he's just telling the story for money, etc. And so they made the decision to turn it over, but then the video, it seems, was never found. And the raw video of Keefe D's interviews in that docuseries were never turned over. However, one of the consulting researchers, producers, what have you, that was on site when Keefe D was giving interviews had audio recorded it. And all of those audio recordings were turned over and transcripts were turned over. And those transcripts were entered into the record. I didn't hear them say, and I might have missed it, but I didn't hear them say that the audio was entered in, but that the transcripts of all of those interviews were entered in. So then the defense went back and forth a little bit about this is Hollywood, it's for dramatization. You know, did Keefe D ever say exactly what happened when you were filming him in Vegas? Or was he just saying this right here is where, you know, my life changed? And then we saw these just little snippets of the interviews Keefe D gave to be a part of that docuseries Death Row Chronicles that came out in 2018. And now we're getting back into the proffers. But I will say the production company that produced Death Row Chronicles cleaned up the audio a lot, because we saw clips of the proffer that we heard yesterday being used in that docuseries, and those clips were much easier to hear, making me regret deeply that we don't just have those proffers as cleaned up by the production company. We have the raw, unedited, snarfly, mumbly proffers, and that's what we're getting back into when the court comes back from break.
Okay, let me say something to my client in front of you so he understands.
Okay.
You know, this is like an informal meeting. He's just trying to get some information. You know, there's no trick questions. If there's something you don't understand, just say you don't understand it for a second. You know, but his intent is not trying to be crafty. He just wants to ask you questions and try to answer them truthful, and we'll be out of here, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no intent of arresting you today.
Yeah.
You understand that? I have all I wanted to gather is some information.
Yeah, that's not what he's not here. He's not saying he's going to arrest you, but he's saying
No, I'm
yeah,
not. No.
Yeah, but he's saying he's not here for that. He's here to make sure everything's clear.
I'm not here to arrest you
he wants
today.
to be honest with him. It's not clear if you're not honest. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You understand everything?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened when you pulled up alongside?
Shooting.
No, you're not being clear. He asked you. You said got to shooting. What do you mean got to shooting?
Who got you?
What happened when you pulled alongside of them? Got to shooting. It's crazy to me that in a voluntary interview, not a proffer, in a voluntary interview, his lawyer's follow-up on that was, well, you're not being clear. When you say you got to shooting, what do you mean? His lawyer's interjecting that. What are you counsel? You're not helping. Yikes.
Where did the gun come from?
From Zip.
Okay. At what point did Orlando get a gun from Zip?
He didn't.
Parking garage.
Keefe D got the gun from
Which
Zip.
one?
GMGM.
Oh, at the valet.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about that. You come out of the fight. Orlando's been beat up.
Yeah.
Oh, why does Zip give Orlando a gun?
I mean, you want him to assume what happened, or
Anything you heard at this point? I
What
want to know
you
what you heard.
specifically what you heard?
What I heard?
Yes.
What does Zip say?
Or Orlando.
Keefe D's pulling himself out of this part of the story. What will be interesting is to see which version of this the jury believes.
Yeah. Can I talk to D for 1 second?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm talking about without you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So Davis says, hey, can I talk to D-Boy for a second? Long says, sure, go ahead. And Davis says, I'm talking about without you. So he wants to talk to Dupree?
You're doing a pretty good job. I know it's kind of hard, but you know, you ain't supposed to be getting into anything like you was involved in murder. You gotta keep it really clean.
But you told what you told us. Stay consistent. What you told us.
He gave me the gun. He gave me the gun. That's what.
No.
You don't say that.
Listen.
His lawyer is like, you're doing pretty good. I know you're not supposed to be getting anything. And what does Keefe D say? Keefe D turns around and says, well, he gave me the gun. He gave me the gun. This is crazy.
It's kind of hard, but you know, you ain't supposed to be getting into anything like you was involved in murder. You gotta keep it really clean.
But you told what you told us. Stay consistent. What you told us.
He gave me the gun. He gave me the gun. That's what.
No.
You don't say that.
Listen.
Okay.
Okay. See.
Then he said you gotta say.
Okay. Keith. Did you hear what I just told you?
Higgins, if you need to do this much work with your client's free to leave. You need to get up and get the fuck out.
I already told you before we started. There's no reason for you to ask him or me anything like that. And if you want to try to do not what I say, do it. You know better than to ask him that question. Okay? Don't ask him that question.
Because he know I'm gonna kick it real, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But
Dupree's
if
like,
it's been told that way before,
I need to stick with it.
because it's the same story. Because you had a bunch of
Dupree's in there saying, you've already told us this. So I understand what you're saying, but you've already told us this. So if you said that before, that's what we're going with.
You might want to say.
So that's what you got to do.
Let me say it this way.
Stay consistent with what you.
Dupree's
you
like,
know,
stay
whatever
consistent.
Let me put it this way, make it easy.
Okay.
Let me make it easier for you. Okay. You can say it that I think I recall it could have been like this.
A lawyer coaching their client this much on a second interview sitting in front of the cops is so fucking wild.
I think I recall it could have been like this.
It could have been.
Presently, I'm not quite sure if it was exactly this way or that way. But I think he could have handed it to me and I handed it to him. You know.
Dupree's
you
like,
can put it
no.
in that kind of,
Stay consistent.
Yeah.
The thing is, you gotta stay consistent because the story's already been told, and leave it at that, and sleep at night.
But no, you gotta trust me what I'm saying.
But he's trying to. He's an attorney, so.
Dupree and Higgins are fighting. Dupree's like, you've already said this shit. And Higgins is like, yeah, but you can say like I could.
What I'm trying to say is, you can stay consistent, but your recollection doesn't have to be exactly. You can also put it in.
Higgins is coaching him to not remember.
What you're saying. I'm trying to recall now. When I think about it, he could have handed it to me. Okay. So
He did give it to me.
That's
Holy shit. Higgins is like, hey man, you can be consistent, but walk it back a little bit. And it sounds like Higgins is saying, and this is me speculating, but Higgins is saying, don't you remember what I said before? Do you think Higgins went in here with Keefe D to be like, hey man, just walk it back a little bit? Like, oh, I'm not quite sure. Oh, I don't quite remember. Like, walk it back. Because Higgins is saying you can make it less bad. You can walk it back. And Dupree's like, we already have your first interview. Stay consistent. And Higgins is like, but you don't have to do all that. And then Davis just sits there going, I mean, but he did just give it to me.
He could have handed it to me. Okay. So
He did give it to me.
that's what you say.
Okay.
You want me to leave for 5 and come back?
No. You're not listening to me. Look at you in the face and listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm saying one more
Higgins is like, you're not picking up what I'm putting down, motherfucker. Okay, leave.
time. Okay, it's two different situations. How you said it before, I don't give a fuck. How many people's in the room? Okay, there's certain things that you say that will get you a murder case. Okay, so play around with that as you want. He got a different job than I got. My job is to get you to say, not to get you to lie, but to get you to understand that your recollection may be that he may have handed it to you.
Higgins. No, sir. No, sir. If you have to do this much coaching with your client, what you don't do is go into this interview.
When you got in, what happens? Is anything said when you get in? By anybody?
I can't recall what the exact words were said.
Okay.
Funny how that happens.
But he got it. Huh?
He gave me the gun.
He gave me the gun.
Yep.
Okay.
That was a long pause for him to say he gave me the gun.
Okay. So you handed it to DeAndre Smith.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you say anything to DeAndre when you handed him the gun?
I didn't say nothing to him. I just went. Then we went and dropped the car. Then we
Well, if he hands me a gun, I'm going to say, what the fuck? Why are you handing me a gun?
If you don't, let's stop.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Okay, stop.
Higgins is now saying, Keefe, stop.
Is there any discussion prior to going looking for liquor about the entourage?
He's asking specifically, did you tell anybody anything to do or anything related to that gun? So what did you recall?
Higgins, don't
The
help.
gun or the entourage?
Yeah. Like get them motherfuckers.
This is the lawyer. The lawyer is saying, yeah, did you say anything like, let's go get them motherfuckers? Dude, This is stressing me out. Did you say anything to them? Just why are you interviewing your client about whether he was encouraging anyone to go retaliate with a gun?
For the record, the jury.
Don't talk to me. Talk to your lawyer.
Okay, yes. What's up?
They keep giving out my address. They broke in my house, vandalized my house.
I'm shocked at this point, both that Keefe D is just putting stuff on the record, that his lawyer didn't say, tell me and I'll tell the judge. And the judge didn't say, sir, talk to your lawyer. Keefe D is mad because the cops are doxing him.
They broke in my house, vandalized my house, vandalized my white car. You know what I'm saying? Because they keep giving out our address. Now they gave out my sister's address. This stuff is wrong.
I've heard it's going on both ways, that there's concerns both ways.
They're wrong.
I've admonished them to talk to their witnesses and anyone they can communicate about these issues, okay? So your attorney let me know what's going on.
I get beat up by the cops. The guy attacked me in here, sent me to prison. This is wrong, and it's mostly this guy.
For the record, you're pointing Mr. DeJock.
Yeah, for the record, I think he's indicating he's upset I'm prosecuting him for murder.
No, I'm not upset because you prosecute. You're endangering my family's life.
I mean, that's a fair concern.
State, again, like we talked about at the bench, you're going to say.
That's why they paused the video earlier, because he wanted that part of the video redacted out. Honestly, reasonable request that he wanted the addresses redacted out. Now, I don't know if the prosecution thought because this was so old that those weren't active addresses, but honestly, it's a fair request that if you're playing the full interview and he's giving out his addresses in the interview, to redact the address. It's reasonable. And it seems that that's what they went up to the bench about.
State, again, like we talked about at the bench, you're going to stay in communication with your witnesses about not doing any of that. Goes both ways. Mr. Stamps, you'll talk to your client about not communicating with witnesses as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. We'll be in recess.
And the judge just said multiple times it's going both ways, and you need to talk to your client about not talking to witnesses. We're at the lunch break of day 5 of the Keefe D trial, and I was concerned that the audio that we would hear this afternoon, which is the 2009 interview with Keefe D, would be a boring recitation of what we heard in the 2008 interview, and that there would be, and there's been some snarfling, but not nearly as much. I did not expect it to be absolutely wild, but we'll get to that in just a second, because after they took a break, they said there's about 30 minutes of audio left. They took a break for the jury because the jurors' lunch got there. And as the jury's going out, Keefe D is sitting there with his finger up at the judge, with his finger up, because he has something to say to the court. And rather than the court saying, let your lawyer know and your lawyer can tell me, or redirecting him, Keefe D just had a whole moment to say to the court, essentially, that the prosecutors are wrong and that they are putting his family in danger and that they're putting his address and his sister's address on the record. The court indicated that they had talked about this at sidebar. And remember, at the very beginning of this particular interview, the interview had stopped and they had all gone to sidebar for more than a few moments. I wonder now if that's exactly what the sidebar was about. But the court spoke back to Keefe D and said that it has been going both ways. Spoke back to Keefe D and said that the state has been advised to advise their witnesses. That the court also said that Keefe D's lawyer, she said, Mr. Samp should also advise you to not be contacting any witnesses. The fact that the court's response to this was, it's been going both ways, was completely unexpected. Keefe D just talking in open court to the court is completely unexpected. His lawyer not saying, bro, let me talk to the court, is also wild. most defense attorneys would be saying, no. I've voiced this concern. But his lawyer stood there and was just like, go off, King. So then we get into this interview from 2009. And this interview from 2009, I think, might be one of the best examples I've ever seen of why, even if you have your lawyer with you, going in to do an interview that is not a protected interview of any sort is generally a terrible idea, unless you're looking at it from the perspective of law enforcement or the prosecutor. And then it's like, thank you for explaining that. But Keefe D goes into this interview with his lawyer Higgins, Dupree, who we saw testify yesterday from LAPD, who is part of the Biggie task force, and Detective Long from Las Vegas. Because Las Vegas is there to talk about the investigation into the murder of Tupac. And he says it at the beginning of the recording. We're here investigating the murder of Tupac. And Keefe D's demeanor is a bit different in this interview. It is clear that he is more hesitant, more guarded, but now he's talking to cops in the jurisdiction. And Detective Long starts out the interview with, "We're not here to arrest you today." Keefe D's like, "What? Back up. What do you mean you're not here to arrest me today?" He's like, "Well, I mean to say that you're free to go." And at that point, they should have said, "Thank you," gotten up and walked out, because it's not a proffer. It is a voluntary interview. And then as they start going through the interview and who Zip handed the gun to, Keefe D asks if Detective Long will step out. And Detective Long's like, sure. So Detective Long steps out, and Keefe D's lawyer has a little heart-to-heart with him while Detective Dupree from LAPD is still sitting in the room. Dupree is still in the room. Dupree, Keefe D's lawyer. And Keefe D's lawyer is trying to say, hey, man, remember that conversation we had before we got here? Remember how we talked about, like, if Zip gave you the gun, then that can put you in some problems with, like, catching a murder case. Remember how we talked about that? And Keefe D's saying, he did give me the gun. He did give me the gun. And Dupree's like, hey, man, you just be consistent with what you told us. And his lawyer's like, but here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when you give two statements, this is Higgins, the lawyer. When you give two statements, you can either, like, solidify it and lock it in, or you can leave yourself a little room. Not lying, but you can just leave yourself a little room. And Keefe D's like, yeah, but he did give me the gun. And his lawyer's like, I don't think you're picking up what I'm putting down. I'm just saying, give yourself a little wiggle room. Just give yourself a little room. And then Higgins is giving him examples of how to maybe muddy the waters a little bit. Like, maybe you think that he might have could have maybe given you the gun. Maybe we step back away from that a little bit. I have never seen an interview quite like that with a defense attorney, because the law enforcement's asking questions, and before Keefe D can even answer, the lawyer is either offering more information or rephrasing the questions in a way that's not necessarily helpful to his client. And I am so curious where the defense is going to go with this. Because remember, yesterday, the defense attorney was talking to Dupree about the fact that Detective Kading told Keefe D to get a different lawyer. And it was insinuated that Kading suggested Higgins, because that lawyer set up a $60,000 deal for Orlando Anderson to go testify at Suge's hearing, that Suge was trying to help the situation, was not jumping him. So Kading straight said to Keefe D, yeah, I didn't trust that other lawyer. He seems dirty to me. Absolutely fucking crazy today. Just crazy.
How do you feel about Tupac being dead now?
I wish it never happened, man.
Right.
I swear, my life been fucked up ever since. I ain't been able to really be rich no more.
No, how do you feel about him being dead, though? I know your life probably changed, but how do you feel about him?
See, the point is, what he's asking you is, you wish it wouldn't happen. It's a bad situation. It's unexpected. It's what he really wants you to tell him, right?
Yeah, I wish you were never. I wish I never.
I wish I never met Puff Daddy, period. Swear to God. But I believe him on that.
I wish you were never. I wish I never met Puff Daddy, period. I swear to God. Yeah. You messed up my life, man. I was rich, up under the radar, all that, man.
Rich and under the radar.
So
how do you feel about Suge now?
Suge, I still be saying. He hugged me. What's up, big homie? Ooh.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you'd like to
I mean, I just say really the reality of it is that, you know, it's been on his mind.
Sure.
I've been his lawyer for a long time.
What in the world is this personal statement from his lawyer? It's been on his mind a long time.
Sure. I've been his lawyer for a long time. I may have suspected something, but he's never told me.
What?
And, you know, on the faith of trying to resolve it, like you want to resolve it, that's why he's here.
Yeah, no, I suspected it for many years.
You know, he's here, and you know, the first time he said it, because he wanted to get it off his chest, you know.
Sure.
Already did what they wanted and everything the first day. Didn't I tell y'all? So I know what y'all want.
Yeah.
Just, I'm going to give y'all what y'all want and leave me the fuck alone.
How is this fucking lawyer up here with Keefe D saying like, be cool, don't be all uncool, give yourself some wiggle room. And then at the end of the interview, Higgins is looking at the two law enforcement officers and was like, hand to God, I've known him a long time. And he just needed to get it off his chest.
The last couple bills here is, have we threatened you or made you any promises in regard to this conversation we had?
No.
Have I made any threats to you?
No.
Have I promised you anything?
No.
No.
That's the question.
That's correct.
His lawyer jumped in real quick.
Should happen now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let me ask.
Have I promised you anything? No. And Higgins coming back in with answer the question. You weren't promised anything.
What do you think should happen now?
Should happen now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let me ask. Has anybody promised you anything regarding this case?
Yeah.
No. Has anybody promised you anything regarding
The
this
murder
case?
of Tupac. Has anybody promised you anything in regard to the murder of Tupac?
Keefe.
The first day they said anything.
Keefe. Listen
Regarding this case.
I really wish they would let Keefe D finish talking in this. I'm real frustrated by this.
Listen
Regarding this case.
There's been no promises on this case that you can recall. Do you recall someone saying something about this case?
No.
So you reached out to Kading and asked him if he wanted to do the documentary. He said yes.
Correct.
Describe your process. Well, do you have to do research to do the to do a documentary like this?
Yes, it took me over 2 years to make the film, in large part because of all the extra research that I did. I needed to interview Greg Kading for it. He was kind of the main person walking us through the story. But I also wanted to make sure that what he was telling me was legitimate. And also needed to make sure that I covered the whole story so I understand it. And it's not just him, deciding what we're going to cover. As part of that, he turned over to me digital copies of the entire LAPD case file for the Biggie Smalls and Tupac cases.
I hate that.
And gave me unfettered access to those files so I could check basically on my own.
I hate that. I mean, that's not wrong on the documentarian. It's wrong on Greg Kading, from my opinion. This is my personal perspective. But the Biggie Smalls investigation and the Tupac investigation were still open. People who could be considered suspects in those investigations were still alive. Turning over case files to a documentary film crew, it does not sit well with me.
Sometime after the indictment of this case, did you learn that we were unable to acquire the raw footage of that?
Yes, and I was even included on some of the email threads at my request because I was also reaching out to Paramount. Paramount Pictures attorney got involved. Paramount owns BET. And I think someone at E1 got involved, and they were initially saying no. And since I work in the business, I was trying to work it out with them, how they could get that footage over. And then ultimately they did give permission for it to be shared.
Did you have footage, or
They got-
I shouldn't say footage, right?
They got permission for it to be shared, and then nobody could find it. Whoops-a-doodle.
had your own raw data at that point that was also authorized to be disclosed.
I did.
Explain to us how the setup was.
Sure. So,
Yeah, he took the
my
audio
reason
recordings.
for being hired onto Death Row Chronicles was a technical consultant, but mainly it was tied to Keefe's interview. I helped Mario Diaz write the questions, and then on both days of the interviews, they had me in an office there at E1's studios, or their office building, down the hall from where the production studio was, where Keefe was being interviewed. And they gave me a headset so I could listen live to the interview as Mario was conducting it. And then I was texting follow-up questions to Mario while he was in the studio as things came up.
Were you recording your audio feed?
Yes, I took the headphones off and I made my own recording with my phone.
We're at the end of day 5, and we are walking through testimony with the documentary crew that made Death Row Chronicles. And it seems we are going to go through all of the raw audio of Keffe D's interview with documentary filmmakers. We heard testimony that at first they had asked for the raw video from the network that produced the documentary, and they were told no. Then the network acquiesced and said, yes, you can have the raw video. And then no one could find it. So the researcher who was watching the interview happen off of the set in another room and then messaging questions to the interviewer was also recording this contemporaneously on their phone. So you hear them clicky clacking on their phone, which is wild, but it's the only recording that exists. Was like their kind of archival recording, because they're not going to have access to dailies. And if the job of the researcher is to go back and formulate what did we miss, I can understand why they have a separate recording. So that audio recording was provided. So we have a transcript and an audio recording. That was all done in 2017 for the series that was released in 2018. So we saw 2 witnesses about that today. We're not even halfway through, I don't think, with the witness that's on the stand now, because we're going to go through, it seems, all of Keffe D's statements. We're going to go through all of Keffe D's statements. So we've gone from the 1998 interviews to the 2008 and 2009 interviews into the now 2017 interviews. And the stories have been pretty consistent, which still raises the question for me. Is after that 2009 interview, Keffe D wasn't arrested. And so almost 10 years later, he's like, I've got cancer. I've got nothing less to lose. I'm going to sit down and tell my story. And then to hear this witness tell it, Keffe D started giving interviews and wouldn't stop, and then started promoting his book. So Death Row Chronicles came out in 2018. Keffe D released his book in 2019. He was indicted in 2023. And now we're here for trial in 2026. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss updates on your favorite cases, you're going to need the LawNerd app at lawnerdapp.com. That way you can stay in the loop on the cases that matter most to you, and you never know when you're going to catch feelings for a new case. So make sure you get it for free on iOS and Android. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a Law Nerd.